one more step forward. In terms of the life of the organization, well, one can talk in terms of the period since our last meeting in February, but one can also talk about the organization since it started last May of the year. It is not an easy thing in any given situation to build these organizations, much more when it has to be done under our own type of circumstances. In other words, depending on people doing it out of, depending on volunteers. People have to volunteer their time, both members of the executive committee as well as the general body, so that what progress work one is able to make has to be judged against that difficult background. There is an organization operating on the basis of volunteering. It is a situation also where people have many other challenges, many other competing calls on their time and on their attention. In spite of that, I think there is room, there is reason to feel reasonably satisfied with what we have done. The mere fact that the organization, 12 months after its launch, is still on its feet is already something. And I believe it's not only on its feet, it is growing. When we arose from the Constitutive Congress, set up the organization, we committed ourselves to set up different operational pillars through which the work and the activities of the organization will be carried out. These past 12 months, I've seen almost, I think, all those pillars up and running to some extent. There are still a number of teething problems, but that in itself is a measure of how far we have gone in trying to create an institution out of nothing. Where nothing existed before, we now have an institution with a structure, and gradually we are also evolving a whole culture of doing things our own way, our own traditions. So I think that's a fair measure of progress. I hope we can continue along that line. We have adopted as a principle enshrined in our constitution that the executive should consist of people who are either elected from the Congress or co-opted. This is to introduce this element of flexibility, whereby the work of the organization doesn't get stuck because maybe the team originally elected have not been found operating either as a team also. In that regard, each of the pillar heads have been told repeatedly and assured that to make up for the required strength that they need in their respective pillars, they can help by identifying people, other people, and then the executive committee and the executive committee always supports them by helping co-opt those people and get them to work with them. Because that initiative can also lie with other people who are not necessarily in the pillars concerned. You identify people who we think can make a contribution. There is no difficulty in bringing it up to the executive committee who will agree that the necessary action is taken to co-opt them, all that strengthen the pillars, because these are the structures through which the work of the organization is intended to carry out. I'd like to use this occasion to remind pillar heads that option is still open, and anytime you feel you need some strength or you're able to identify somebody who you think can add value to your work, contact the executive committee with the support we can. I think as far as the institutional building part of the organization is concerned, I wouldn't say much more than that. Our organization, as I said, is on its feet, standing. It is growing, maybe not as fast as one would have liked, but it is growing, it is strengthening, and it is in the process also evolving, as I said, its own method of work, its own culture. And this is how organizations, institutions grow. The bulk of the work, as I said, is done through the programs part of the organization. In other words, what are the activities that through the 5 operational pillars we have been able to carry out since the organization was set up. Initially, we decided that a structured way of approaching it is to commit ourselves to work plans so that the organization is not left to work on ad hoc basis. Every pillar was encouraged to make a proposal in terms of actions and activities that it wants to be able to carry out over the first 12 months of the life of the organization. It took us about a month or two to go through the proposals received from the various pillars. When I say we, I mean the executive committee, to go through them, give our own advice, amend them, and finally approve them. And it's those approved work plans for the 5 structures, 5 pillars that have been collapsed into what is called an action plan for the whole campaign. In other words, it's a commitment to say 12 months from the time that the work plan was adopted, it was in July, we are committing ourselves to do this and this and these different activities through these different pillars. And when we look back, therefore, on what has been going on, we must always use that as our reference, our framework of reference. The individual pillar heads will be next item. We will come to brief you on what they have been doing. But I just like to say, in general terms, there were some efforts that have been going on in these areas, in the different areas. Communication is one, partnership is another one, third one being positive action, and fourth one, the research and documentation, and fifth one being the support services, which was administrative and logistical support. I think what activities have been going on since July up till now have been going on through these various, these 5 pillars, each trying to implement its own work plan which it has proposed and which has been adopted. It is it won't be fair or even reasonable to expect that everything will be carried out 100%. Some considerable effort has been made. Because a lot of them do require a lot of planning before they can be implemented. What I need to say generally is to use occasion to encourage the pillar teams to persevere and to double up their efforts in that regard. Because initially we could have left everybody to go on ad hoc basis. In other words, any idea that comes to you, if you can carry it. But we decided that the better method is to commit ourselves to the work plan. And once that work plan, and that work plan also was not sort of imposed from top, it was generated from the pillars. The pillar was encouraged to come forward and say, we think we can do this and this and this. And this we like to believe that it's a commitment binding on all of us. And for the efforts that they have done, they have put in to implement them, I want to thank them. But there's still a lot more that can be done. There's still room for improvement in this regard. We have unfortunately missed a few benchmarks in this regard. Programs and items that have been included in their work plans have not been carried out. So most of them there are some good reasons, but all the same we try as much as possible to improve on that performance. I will not go into the exact details. I will leave that to the pillar heads when they take to the floor to report to you on their respective areas they have planned and what they have been able to carry out. And then give it to you to look at it. I would therefore like to just conclude this brief overview that I'm giving you by highlighting one or two areas which still remain, in my own observation, a challenge to us. And they are none other than the very two that have been raised at our last quarterly meeting. The area of raising funds. This is critical in the work of any organization. Some resources are the nerve center, where the resources are not there, we work very difficult to progress. We have had many instances where even basic small expenses like stationery, members of the executive committee have to put their hands in their pockets to make contributions. I like to use the occasion to commend them, those of them who have been taking those. But that's not the best basis for funding the work of an organization like ours. We should really work hard to improve our fundraising. Task force was created within the support services to help them with ideas of raising funds. Again,